Hey Greg, how are you?
I am well. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. Thank you for taking the time to meet with me today.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thanks for being here.
Yeah. Well, just to dive right in, I know that you're a busy guy. I know that you have a lot of patients to see. I know you're kind of hopping from room to room, and I totally get that. I'm probably going to for just this is just our initial meeting. We'll have time to be able to dig deeper and really get into the weeds of things and really kind of, flesh this stuff out a little bit more. But I just wanted to kind of see a bigger kind of a bird's eye view of your business, yourself, where you're looking to go, that kind of thing. I know that you had initially reached out, um, about kind of growing your revenue, maybe getting some more patients. But um, if you could, and as you may know, from my website, I do a lot of work with dentists, but everybody's different. And so, if you don't mind, can you tell me a little bit about your practice and what that looks like?
Yeah, so we've been around for some time, but I'm not finding new clients. Initially I had that fire starting my business as a beginning dentist,
Mhm.
and uh, with my wife and I in a new town, that was great. We just started, making calls and got on board. But then, through attrition and people moving and just the market, I've not gained that fire and that traction to keep infusing with new clients. So, pardon the pun, but I've got a lot of filling to do.
Sure. Yeah.
There's a lot of cavities in my clients. Not in the clients, but in the spaces, and I need to, I need to kind of find a way to bridge that, so to speak.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
it's kind of maybe a little root canal on my, way to get new people, and I'm bouncing from person to person with assistants, and it's like, wow, where am I going to find the time? And I need some help with that.
Yeah, sure. So, if you don't mind me asking, since we're doing this call over Zoom, where are you located currently?
I'm in a small town in Northern California, so there's 14,000 people and there's quite a few dentists,
Uh-huh.
but I really want to find ways that I can gain some more market share. People aren't getting any old, or people that are, sad to say, dying off, and how to get new people, and yeah. So
Yeah. Well, what do you think? This is just off the cuff. What do you think might differentiate you from, say, some of the other dentists in your town?
I, probably the thing that I like about our, business is that it's still very family focused. It's
Okay.
like we work on young ones all the way through the whole lifespan of the client, but we try to make sure that it's more not just about their teeth or about business. I like to connect with my patients and know about who they are and create those longer relationships.
Yeah.
And I just haven't invested in the new side, getting new clients and want to expand, but that retention through knowing who they are, cradle to grave, so to speak, is something that's always been important to me.
Yeah. No, that's really great. I mean, there's so much to be said for that. So our family dentist, his name is Dr. Franco. He has been our dentist since, gosh, I think right when me and my wife got married. She had seen him a couple times before that, and he kind of became our dentist. And he recently shut down. We were so bummed because we were connected to Dr. Franco, and I feel like there's another company. So I live in the DFW Metroplex in Texas, so around the Dallas area, and there's another company called Mint, and their marketing is real sleek. I mean, their marketing is great, right? But their catchphrase is we. It's like we give or we give you sexy teeth, right? So just from that alone, you can tell it's not about the family orientation, right? It's not about necessarily that connection. It's about how you look, that external thing, you know. So I really do appreciate that about you. I wish there were more doctors like you. We've been trying to find one like that. So it's too bad you're not in DFW, or we'd come to you too. But anyway, so in a perfect world, how would you see it? Because I know you said that you have some vacancies, like you're really wanting to grow this business, to build it up. And um, if you were to cast a vision for me, what would you say? Like if you woke up tomorrow and your practice was exactly how you wanted it to be, what would that look like?
So quantity wise, our schedule wouldn't be so too full. It'd be
Okay,
literally a nice fluid throughout the day, steady pace, Monday through Thursday, ideally, Fridays, if there's, emergencies, things like that. I'd like to try to focus on a 3-day weekend.
sure.
I like my staff, I'm finding that there's people that want to work, but they don't really want to invest in the company. They don't want to be part of it. So learning how to help my company inside out as well as the marketing. I mean, I would love it to feel that way, but then be so attractive from people outside that they come to us rather than me having to go get them.
Yeah, yeah,
And
sure.
I don't know how to how to get there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that having a 3-day weekend would speak volumes to that right there, because the fact that you have a 3-day weekend because you want to spend time with your family says one thing as well. And we could talk about that later. That could be part of it too, if you even wanted it to be. But I think by you setting the example, because your business is, as you well know, I mean, it is an extension of you and your personality and who you are, especially because it is, a one shop, you know, practice. And so you as a person are going to be the one who determines the culture there, and so I think that right there speaks volumes. So um do you think that there's anything that would stand in the way of reaching that end goal currently?
If I'm really honest about it, it's sometimes I get, through my own issues, maybe too clinical at work. I'll have a disconnect,
Okay.
somehow. And I talked to my staff, I've talked to people, and it's like I'll have a little bit of a disconnect with the clinical side versus the personal side. I, 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 my I think I need some work on that. Um, which you might be able to help with, because that's gonna, I don't know how to carry that whole image and make it a little more holistic, and so that the community sees that. I really need your help in a lot of ways that way.
Sure. Well, and I totally get it. So just understand that that's normal. I mean, you're doing a lot, and it's hard to keep your eye on all the spinning plates at one time. You know, and I know that you reached out for consulting when it comes to growing your practice, but I also do coaching as well, and so we can work on that if that's something that you're interested in doing at some point. But obviously that's a different conversation. But that's great. That the fact that you want to um, be able to make that connection is huge. Is huge. Um, so without saying me coming there or whatever else, so what do you think, because you reached out to me for a reason, you wanted to grow your practice, right? You wanted to get more patients in. um what do you think needs to happen in order for you to get there?
It- I really don't know.
Yeah,
But partly because I'm reaching out to you and trust you with your expertise, and you have a great reputation from people that I've heard about. So, it wasn't just random. So
that's
I
good to
heard about your business, and it drew me to you. And so quite honestly, I keep stumbling over my words because I don't know. I think it might be my lack of passion, or I just want to be much more efficient at it. Back in the day when I was younger, I could make 100 phone calls and, you know, take rejection and not. Now I want to be much more efficient about, you know, working with people that are going to come in and we're going to transact, but at the same time build a relationship. So yeah, it's tough for me to answer that question.
Yeah, sure. That's no problem. So what do you think it would feel like to reach that goal? You're full Monday through Thursday, doing the kind of things that you want to do. There's a great culture, and you have clients trying to get in the doors. How would that feel for you?
Ah, it'd be my dream. I would be very pleased. I'd be much more content. I'd be happy. I'd feel like I wouldn't be near as stressed about the financial end of things, you
Yeah,
know, because that drives me a lot. I get concerned, with the cost of healthcare and, you know, um, Medi-Cal versus, you know, Delta Dental or any other dental and all that's just a mass that I just don't prefer to deal with or stress about. But I'm constantly stressed about.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm sorry to hear that. But you'll get there. We'll get you there. Because as I run a small shop myself, and so it's I get the tension of wanting to have, being able to be really connected and have that emotional piece there and really pour yourself into it. But also you have to work on that nasty business piece of it, right? To grow the business. So it's like working with two different brains almost, you know. Um, so what do you feel like are your biggest strengths? I mean, you've mentioned the family feel, right? Um, what is there anything else that you might add to that as far as your practice goes? Some strengths that you guys have, and it could be anything. It could be your personal strengths. It could be the strength of your practice, certain kinds of procedures that you guys do.
Um, I'm not a specialist. I'm more of a generalist, so I would send, specific things out. I refer. But I think the strength is when I'm not in those stressful moments and we do have enough clients and all that stuff, then I'm very engaging, I believe, with people. But when I'm disconnected or stressed, I'm not. So it's a strength, but it's also a weakness. But people I believe feel that, when they come to our little shop that they feel like they were seen and not just seen for their teeth, but they were seen as a person.
Yeah.
Uh, and I like to lean into that. I think that's more one of our strengths.
Okay. Great. Great. And you mentioned your wife. You guys started the practice together. I always like to ask if there are any other decision makers involved. Obviously you're a decision maker. Would we need to involve your wife and how we kind of go about these things? Do you have anybody who's maybe one of your secretaries working on social media, things like that? Is there anybody else we would need to get involved in the process?
You bring up a good point because there is I do have a billing person that handles all the insurance and the billing. And this person's been with me for some time and she has some great insight. I'd like to, have her participate along. And I appreciate you asking the question because I could have, you know, I would have done things and then they would have said, why didn't you ask? And so and obviously my wife. But that's most of the other staff. I'd like to see them be more involved.
Sure.
So that's something we can talk about maybe in the future. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. Okay. Um, so how many patients do you currently serve if you were to say in a month?
Oh wow. Let's see, 10. Yeah, probably probably about 100.
100.
And
Okay.
yeah, so it's getting a little low. I'd like to see that increase quite a bit.
Okay. I'm not looking away from him, just writing those notes down. Okay, so how many could you handle? Let's say we were to max this thing out. We booked you solid from Monday through Thursday, every day. How many new patients do you think that you could handle per
I
month?
think handling another 50 patients a month, at least to 150.
Okay.
And but that's 50 dependable, consistent. And obviously just in a month. So that's what, another 12, so yeah, so that's quite a lot.
Okay. Are there any particular procedures that you want to focus in on? I know that a lot of clients tend to want to focus on, like, say, like a Invisalign, things like that. Are there any? Because I know that, because you had mentioned, being able to kind of go from, say, it sounded like, and correct me if I'm wrong here, you're currently working from Monday through Friday, and you're wanting to shorten that to Monday through Thursday to give yourself that 3-day weekend, which I think is great. So that would essentially, with your current client base, they would either have to kind of work in those 4 days a week, um, which could be an issue because, obviously Friday, maybe people are off that day and they want to come in to see the dentist, that kind of stuff like that, come see you. Um, and there's other items that say are a little bit higher. We like to call them higher ticket items. They're higher ticket procedures. Right? So your Invisalign, or just some other things. Is there anything besides, say, like your standard cleanings, things like that, that you would want to maybe integrate and kind of focus on to kind of boost that revenue a little bit while you're, kind of minimizing that time frame?
No, I hadn't thought about that. It, Based on your recommendation, it might be an idea to go, you know, Tuesday through Friday. Um, because you brought up a good point about Fridays and people getting Fridays off and coming in, and so that might be an idea. And now that I think about specializations, I've never thought about and just hadn't had the experience, but I'd really like your recommendation after we spend some time. Maybe you can give some recommendation as to, since that's your expertise, about where that could help.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it typically goes for about triple your typical cleaning, as you well know. And so it's a great revenue boost, and we have a lot of um, tried and true, we call it direct marketing, direct response marketing types of strategies that we use with other dentists that I think would really kind of drive that revenue. It'd be kind of a turnkey thing. You wouldn't be a guinea pig. It would be something that we could provide and kind of turn that switch on. Once we get to that 150, then we can have another conversation on, whether or not you're willing to scale. And that was kind of my next question was, let's say we got you from, let's just say, within I don't know, a month, 2 months, you went from 100 patients to 150 patients, right? You were booked solid. You're like, man, this is great. I got my 3-day weekend. We're good. Um, are you open to scaling at all? Like, say, and it could be any. And when I say scaling, don't that scare some people? Don't let that scare you. So that could be anything from as big as saying opening up another location, or as small as, say, you bring in, say, a partner, another dentist to come in to, say, work on those days that you are not working. Or it could be, maybe finding a new location, or depending on where you're located in the kind of space that you have. I don't know if you're in a single building or in kind of a strip where you could expand that way to house more patients. Would you be open to scaling if we were able to get you that 150 mark and keep going?
Well, now that you mention that, planning for kind of my exit strategy, bringing somebody in and building it that way, bringing on, letting somebody invest in it and then me exit out over time, build it up and then make that transition. I'd love some recommendations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and speaking of that, is there a, I mean, obviously we're in dream world, right? We're thinking hypothetically here, but let's just say that was the case. Would there be a time frame that you'd like to make an exit?
I'd like to stay, let's see, I'm 58 now, another 12 years.
Okay.
So it's a decent time frame, but by the time I'm 70, I'm probably gonna want to. I'd rather spend more time on the, having a green fever on the golf course. So
Sure, sure. I get that. I get that. Um, well, just to switch gears just a little bit. So we talked about a little bit of, direct response marketing, things like that. What have you done in the past that, as far as marketing is concerned for your practice?
most of it, I literally haven't done much, and that's probably part of, that's showing the attrition. When I was much younger, and I made all kinds of phone calls because I was hungry and had to.
Yeah.
And now I'm watching the kind of the frog in the pot. I'm slowly dying because yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and that's, I mean, the fact that you've been able to grow your practice as much as you have with word of mouth is great. So that just telling you that you already have a good handle on things. People like you, they know you, they want to work with you. And so, I mean, I think the whole thing is just getting them in the door, and you'll take care of the rest because obviously they feel welcome there. So that's great. Um, is there anything that, I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that you might think would be relevant that I should know about your practice?
um, probably that I think there's potential. I get scared because there's more dentists in town, and it's a lower income base.
Okay.
There's lots of teeth work to be done,
Sure.
but it's slightly competitive, and so so I really appreciate how to leverage the efficiency of the marketing to get more with less, so that we're not, so that we get more leads and more people in without investing, hundreds of thousands of dollars at marketing and getting two clients. So,
Well, I tell you what, there's so I used to be the marketing director for it was the largest independent insurance company in Texas, and it was so funny. So they were spending $100,000 per month over three stations, so $300,000 a month on getting insurance leads. This is before I ever started my consulting business, but um, and they were doing TV commercials, right? And so whenever I came in, we took I think it was right around a third of that budget, not even a third. I want to say it was maybe about a quarter of that budget, and we put it all into social media. We tested it. We were looking to see when people, because I mean, you think about whenever you're on the phone, whenever you're on your phone, right? When you're watching TV, unless you're streaming, obviously, and maybe in some people even whenever they're streaming, whenever the commercials come on, what do? We look at our phone, right? And so we like to time these things too, to where they're going to be hitting these people at the right time frames, to where you're going to get the most bang for your buck. So you're not going to have to dump. And again, and let me just assure you too, you don't have to spend even I mean, anywhere close to what that company was spending. Because I mean, and it was so funny because when we did that, their KPIs were the highest had ever been in their company history. I mean, they were hitting just crazy numbers, highest inbound calls, just a number of different things that kind of blew it up. And they realized, oh, we don't have to spend a boatload of cash on TV commercials to get the kind of results that we want, right? And so I think really with just a little bit of targeted direct response marketing, timed with at the right time for these people, I think would really drive your revenue pretty quick. It would drive those inbound patients really quickly. So just to encourage you in that, I think that it would do really well. Especially, it sounds like you're in a smaller town. I mean, we would also obviously do some market research to make sure that it's not like you know, we would see what your competitors are doing, right? And we would make adjustments for that. But yeah, I think that you're in a really good position to be able to kind of knock this out of the park pretty quick. Um, so just one last question. So as far as your expectations of me, I'm here for you. I want to help you grow. I want more family practice medicine or dentists in towns. I think it's great because there's a relationship there. It's not just a transactional thing; it's a relationship. Um, what are your expectations from me as far as our relationship together?
um, I'd love for you just to handle it all and get it done for me, but I know that I'm going to have to do a lot of the work too. I'm just going to rely on your expectation and your reputation, because you've worked with dentists. I'm more solid in that. But the expectation I have is to really be as clearly as honest as possible. I've been promised a lot and from other people, and they just didn't have any follow through. So I
Sure.
like to hear the nuts and bolts and the accuracy of it.
Yep.
I don't like to be sold so much. So, your availability and honesty and transparency is something that I will value and appreciate.
Sure. Sure. And you'll have that. And so what I'll try to do for you specifically is You mentioned that one person who was doing a little bit of your, you wanted to kind of bring her in to help out. We can all sit down together and discuss that. Try to keep as much off your plate as possible to where you can basically focus on what you've been trained to do, you love to do, you love to connect with people and work on their teeth. Right. So let's keep you focused on that as much as possible. And I'll work with that person to make sure that, we're talking weekly and then I'm reporting to you weekly. We'll talk about, what the numbers were that week, where we feel like some areas where we could get better, things like that, just to kind of keep you in the loop on everything. Just to make sure that you feel comfortable, like, okay, we're doing our job. We're making sure that the things are working smoothly. We're giving you that personalized attention. And it's not just like we're just trying to sell you a bill of goods that's not going to produce. I will personally ensure that happens. So, if you've got any questions for me before we hop off the call, I'd love to hear them if you have anything.
No, I'm pretty good.
Okay.
Pretty good.
Greg, thanks so much for taking the time. I'll shoot you a follow-up email after this with kind of next steps, and we'll go from there. Sound good?
That sounds great.
All right. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Bye.
So I love your ability to relate personal experience and stories to the consultation. But there's a lot of attunement, a lot of presence. In other words, feeling my pain, and at the same time being willing to like jump in. Because I inadvertently and accidentally probably threw you a few curveballs, which I think you addressed, very proficiently. About character and just reaching and going, hey, I need help.
Sure.
Yeah. So very capable.
Well, I feel like that's just based on past experience. That's when I think about it, an SME. I mean, man, they don't want to be dealing with all this mess. They just want to do what they enjoy, you know, and so they don't want to talk about marketing. They could care less. It's like if you can get me what I want and it's a positive ROI, let's go. You know, and it makes my life easier. So yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. I really like that eh, you immediately start it with like basically tell me about who you are. Like you invite a story. Like it wasn't super clinical. Ironically, you're talking about like a medical practice. Like, but it didn't feel super clinical. It really didn't. Like you were really getting to the heart of who this person is, which I think could be maybe a breath of fresh air for a lot of people that, oh, this is a consultant. And I think consulting, and even in my head, is like very like performative. Let's find you numbers. Let's do this, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, your approach was very human and just finding like his humanity and even like really encouraging what he's doing. Like, I want more of that. Like, I love what you're doing. That would be super encouraging to hear, especially someone who has started their own thing and they're, willingly going, oh, like I want to see it grow and I want to keep this. So that was cool. I like that a lot.
Awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot of encouragement and jumping in and appreciation.
Uh-huh.
So at least from
Yeah.
what I felt.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, because it's a small business owner position is not an easy one to be in. That's high stress, man.
No, it's not. It's really not.
Hmm.
So my child just woke up.
Okay.
He's
Oh,
looking at me.
cool.
But I'll talk to you guys. I'll see you guys on Tuesday.
Okay, I'm gonna stop recording unless anybody
Okay.
has